All right, so welcome to Robots and Automation. This is our state contest board, which we are working on right now. April is the state meet season to be able to do all of this. What I wanted to show you today is live and on camera, and it's going to be about taking the batteries. Now this happens the Tuesday morning of the contest, where our competitors the robot has to grab a battery out of the 45-degree holder and put it down into the vertical position. The robot then needs to back off, or at least let go, and then place it back in the particular hole. It has to do all three. You program your robot to get all three of those, and it has to then do it 3 times consecutively in order to get all the points. So what I wanted to do today is introduce you again to the teaching pendulum, which then will allow us to be able to set the points directly and save the points directly into the computer. And then once we have registered and saved all of the points, then we can go back to the actual computer and then program the robot in the proper order that we want. The teaching pendulums, depending on what kind of robot that you're dealing with, all have the same thing. They all have this dead man switch that has to be pressed and held down while you're using the tool. If for whatever reason, if you get conked in the head, or if you have a heart attack, or for some reason your hand lets this go, the robot immediately comes to a dead stop. So it's a real important feature in all industrial robots, and it is certainly one that we even here have in our teaching tool. I don't know if you can see the screen very well, so I'll talk through a lot of the things that you're going to see here. The control pad, you see the numbers 1 through 9. These numbers that I will use most frequently are 1 through 5, which then is the base. Number 2 is the shoulder. Here's your base, shoulder. Number 3 is the elbow. Number 4 is the pitch. And number 5 is the rotation, or what we would call the roll. Number 6 actually opens and closes the grip, but it does it relatively slowly. And I don't really like to use that one, except for we have an open and close, which works rather quickly down here. We also have a speed control in which we'll manipulate, because sometimes when we push these buttons, the robot overshoots where it needs to go, and then we can control that speed. Right now the robot is set at 50%, just like it would be when you're programming it on the machine, and then we'll set it down. As I get closer to nailing down some positions over there, I might move it down as low as 5%. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold this thing down with my left hand so that we can see this. And anytime that we start putting it down, you always want to make sure that you've depressed it before you move from the auto to teach. Don't let go of this, even going back from teaching, going back to auto. The releasing of the dead man switch should be the first thing that you do, and then the last thing that you do. So I'm going to go to the teach mode, and one of the things then that we have to do then is we actually have to turn this controller on. So we have to hit the control on off and then hit enter, and now that says that the controller is ready to go. So let's try some of these positions. This is where we had problems earlier this morning. So number 1 then is the base, and as I move positive and negatively, I can rotate it in that direction. Number 2 is the shoulder. Now I know that it'll come down for negative. I remember these by heart. Number 3 is that elbow. Number 4, we'll spin that claw back and forth. And number 5 then rotates the claw. And then we have control of that. Now, Right now it's set at a speed of 50%. As we get closer to our device there to get into the first position, I might have this go a little bit slower. So the idea being is that we want to get over to that, oops, see, now I hit the wrong way. So I want to get over to that first battery and get close. Now our first position is position number 99, and we'll program that with the computer. Our position 99 is always set, and that's where you saw it when we opened up the program here today, that's where the robot was sitting. So now we need a position number 1, which is going to have us close to where we want to go. So I'm going to need to put together a series of pushing the button here between 2 and 3 to get myself in the vicinity of where I want to go. I need to clean up my claw a little bit. See, now I'm having difficulty getting it to stop where I want it to go, so I'm going to change the speed down, and at this point I'll go 10%. And then every time that you change something, you really should hit the enter button at the end, and now that you'll see then that it moves considerably slower, and I have a lot better control of it than I had before. Now, I want to make sure then that my claw is set up so that this actually would like to make it a right angle so that we can reach in there and grab those batteries out of there without any problem. So I want to do a little bit more 3, a little more shoulder and elbow. And you know, at this point I could be close enough so then I could register this as position 1. So what I would do then is there's a button right here in the corner that says record position. So I push that, and then I'll get number 1, and then I execute it. So it's position, number 1, enter. So now this would be our number 1 position, which is pretty close to where we want to go. So now let's start to do number 2, which then would be getting those claws right up inside that groove, and we'll call that position 2. So let's move down a position 2, see it gets closer. All right, we're going to do a little up on 3. Now I'm going to come back a little bit on 1 too, because I want to make sure that that claw is centered. So when it grabs at that, we're not pulling it off one side to the other. I want to do a little more 2. I want to up a little 3. Now it's a combination of a down 2. Ooh, look at that, right in there. I'm going to do up 3. Whoop. Looks pretty close. Now I notice though that the jaws aren't fitting perfectly in there. I'm going to do a little bit of 5 to see if I can twist it, just to make sure that it lines up perfectly with that. I'm going to come down maybe a little more 2. All right, so there I hit the edge of that. I'm going to actually move down now and do my speed even a little slower. I'm going to do a 5% speed so that I can really get good control. There we go. So that looks close enough for the girls we go out with. So I would record that then. The other thing though, I just want to make sure though that it can grab it. So I'm going to open and close that grip. So I'm going to close it. And it looks like that's in far enough that will grip. So then I'm going to record, hit the record button. I'm going to push number 2. And then I'm going to hit enter. And that would record it. Now, at this point, I have my number 1 positioned and recorded. I've got number 2 positioned and recorded. So I could go back now and add at least number 1 and number 2 into my program, but I'm going to back it out of there just a little bit, and then let's work on position 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 are going to be over that hole down there. So I want to back it out very, very carefully now. So I don't hit anything. There we go. And actually we would use probably position number 1 for that. Now let me go and increase our speed some. So let's go back to 50%. And now I'm going to go 2. Oh, gee, no. Back a little 2 or a 3. All right, so now we have to change this so that gets completely laid out. And even with the ground, because we want to get that battery in there. And I noticed again now that I've turned that a little bit, that's a little tippy, but I'm not going to do anything with that now until I get a little closer. So now I'd have to do a combination of 2s and 3s again. Now here I'm getting close. Let's go down to a 5%. So speed, let's do 10% and enter. But I don't want to be that close just yet. So I'm going to raise it up a little bit. So we're going to call, as I get closer to the hole, we're going to record this as position 3. But the only thing that I want to change then between position 3 and 4 is going to be straight down. So I have to line this up perfectly right now so that my position 3 is directly over the hole. So I have to turn my rotation a little bit. There we go. Now I have to come back a little. No, that would be 3. I need to do a little bit of 1 as well. Okay. Maybe +3. Sweet. Now this is where your partner can help you to get up over the top of it and be able to look straight down at that. Let me just do that a minute. So now here, now I'm going to go down to 5%. Looking good. All right, so I'm going to record this now. This will be my position 3. So I'm going to hit the record button, push number 3, and then enter. So record, number 3, enter. So now let's do, and have it go down. So you can see that if I do a number 2, that should pretty well take it right into the hole. So we'll do -2. Not quite. See, I want to straighten this guy out a little bit too. Yeah, okay. How about it down a little? 2 now. Maybe a little 1, go in the other direction. Wrong way. Okay, how about down a little more 2? Maybe up a little 3. Down 2. There it is. So that would be my number 4. So record number 4 and enter. And that would then give us the 4 positions that we need. 1, 2, we're going to go back to 1, position 3 and 4. And that would give us our positions then that we could possibly use. Now, if we're off a little bit, and to do it in reverse order, we may have to change some things, because maybe the minute I let go of that, let me open it. See, the battery moves a little bit. And by moving it just a tad bit, our positions 1 and 2 may not work anymore. 3 will probably be okay, but 1 and 2 might be a little off, might be a little janky for us to be able to do. So we're going to leave this now, but I'm going to take this back, though, to a position where it's not going to hurt itself. So let me change the speed to back to our 50%, and I'm going to go up on the 2, because this position right there, this arm could hurt itself if I try to move it back to, let's say, a home position too quickly, and it could damage the robot. So I'll move it by hand almost to our home position, and then we'll go from there. So, all right, so that's close enough for us to be able to start from the home. So again, as I said before, don't let go of this. Move it to the auto mode, and now you can release the deadband switch. And now we're going to go back to the program, and we'll see how close this actually works to what we want to see happen with those robots and batteries. So we have the program up and running, and we have to have this up and running, and you have to make sure that it's online, and we had to home it before we walked in here. So that was a good thing. It saved us a little bit of time. So now the first thing that we want to do is we want to start the program itself. And let's just take a look at this guy right here. This is the teaching tool that we would use to actually put our program and our numbers in. Notice then that the robot itself has recorded position 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have those there ready to go for us. But we also had position number 99, which is the home position. Now I did this prior to having you come in today, and these numbers are always the same all the time. X is 130, Y is 0, Z is 330, the pitch is -90, and the roll is 0. Now, in order to add that to the program, we hit the straight arrow. Let's add position 99. And there it goes. And then we want to open the grip. But we don't want this particular one is a little bit touchy, because if I open this up all the way, we have a tough time grabbing that battery. So we're going to use a command called jaw, which is a JA, and I forget where it is. Where's our JA? JA. There it is, jaw. And I found that 0 is closed, 70, the number 70 is all the way open, that if we open it up about halfway, 35 gets us a pretty good claw rate that I can reach in there without having too much difficulty with the robot. So let's run those two. So let's put the blue line at the top, and let's see what happens. So it's going to go back to the home position. And you can see there that that claw just squeeched down really, really close, but it's still open enough for what we want to do. So now, what was the order that we talked about? So our first position is we wanted to go to position number 1. So let's see where 1 goes. So now that should turn the robot. And that was the first position that we recorded. Looks good? All right. So let's do number 2. Now remember, number 2 then was to reach in and grab the battery. So let's see if it'll get in there now. Let's see how position 2 works. Oh, pretty nice. All right, so we want to close the grip. So we want to be able to close the grip on the battery. Let's run that one. Okay. Now, we already have position 1 established. So let's get that battery out of the holder by putting it to position number 1. Let's see what that looks like. Pull that out. Sweet. So now what were the other 2 numbers? The other 2 numbers was position 3. Let's see what that looks like. Remember now that was really close to the hole, but just above. And then our position 4, put it in the hole. Let's see how that works. Nice. Okay, now at this stage of the contest, the judge is going to tell you that you have to open the grip. So you want to open that grip back up. But now, do we really need to open the grip all the way? We don't. We just need it to open just enough to be able to release the battery. So we can use this jaw command, and rather than go find it in the list, actually if I right-click on it, put the blue line on here, and if I right-click, I can copy that. So copy, put it down here, I can paste. All right, so let's watch that happen. So notice that it opens just enough to let the battery go, and that's all that's required of the contest. So let's close that up. Now, if we're really lucky, positions 3 and 4, 1 and 2 will work again. So our 3 was to get it up out of the hole. So let's put position 3. Let's see where that goes. Hopefully it grabbed the battery. There it is. Now, do we want to go immediately to 2? I think not. I think you ought to take and get yourself a little bit of straight shot clearance. Let's go back to 1 before if we try to push it right back into 2, it may get a little sloppy as it goes in there. So let's get it back to 1, which cleans up our operation real nice. And now let's send it to 2. Put it back in the holder. Sweet. Let's do our jaw command. Now, I think we can probably paste it, yeah. Do our jaw command. And then let's go back to number 1. Let's see what that happens. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. That is definitely good enough for the girls we go out with. All right. So what do you think? Should we run this from the top? See if we can grab it, put it back in, and have the robot run itself all the way through the cycle. Now, I don't need to go back to home. I already have the jaw at 35%, or halfway through. It's already at 50%. So let's put the blue line right here at number 1, and let's watch it through the full cycle. and see if it'll do it. Oh my gosh, there, do the happy dance. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, so that is the situation to where you have the first battery plucked out and back in again. Now, you'd have to add then from here, you'd want to go back to your teaching tool, and you want to again then start recording. We would want to record another series of points, would be like 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that would be your new set of batteries. Decide whether you want to go left or right from the center point. Now, you could start at the end and work your way across. I just find it easy enough to start from the center point, and I can keep going back to position 1 because it's a really nice centering point each time that I run through the program. So I could continue to work. Let's say I want to go to the battery on the right. I can start at position 1. Now I can move over to a position 5. I can reach in and grab the battery, which would be number 6. Position numbers back to 5. Grab a hold of it, push it down, and then 7 and 8 would be a repeat then of pulling down the battery and putting it into the opening, opening the jaw, putting it back, and going from there. Now, let's see if we can modify this just a little bit and have it run through continuous to see what we can get. So let's see one. So let's take out our home position just for the time being, just for shits and giggles. Let's cut him out. And we have a couple of jaw commands. So we would get to open the claw back to number 1. So this would be repeat. So let's take that out. Let's cut him out for a minute. And since we've already started at 1, well, you know, it really wouldn't hurt to just keep those in both places, especially if we're going to start from the beginning. So, you know, if you repeat a command, the robot just is going to run through it and it'll run. So let's see how much this would run continuously. We've got about 10 or so minutes of class. Let's see what this would do in a continuous mode, and let's see what happens. Let's see if we can do it 3 times without messing up. So now we could put a wait time in there, like right here between this point. We could put a wait time just to make sure the judges saw that we let go of it. And this is the whole process behind using robots in manufacturing, is because they are so repeatable. How many times do you think Kyrie would be able to do this? He's supposed to take a battery and stick it in that opening and then put it at the top. So now he's thinking about his girlfriend. He's got the battery out and maybe he turns it upside down. The kids were giving him a problem before he came to work today. His wife was nagging at him. And then the dog crapped on the floor. So he's having a bad day. But you know, this robot doesn't have a bad day. It doesn't have to go to the bathroom. It's consistent, it's precise with every single movement. And as a human being, I don't know if I could be so precise every single time get a little cramp in your hand. And notice that the speed is consistent. Kyrie didn't have his coffee this morning because his wife was nagging on him. The kids were a real pain, and the dog crapped on the carpet, so he didn't get a chance to have his coffee. His boss is telling him that he's a slacker a little bit. And then his car had a flat tire on the way to work. This is pretty cool. So we got a little background music here.